welcome back with our special guest, Nico Tortorella, artist. Hi, Nico.
Hey.
Welcome.
I'm so happy
How's
to
it
be here.
going?
Thanks.
Good.
That is a loaded fucking question, you know? How's it going?
Well, give us a loaded fucking answer.
Yeah, all things considered, me in my own life, I am doing quite well. And sometimes I feel selfish even saying that. But I'm thriving right now, honestly.
That's great. That's good to hear, honestly. It's good to know somebody's thriving.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
It's good to remember, you know, I think that people have been so used to saying that 2020 is horrible.
Mhm.
And it's so really good to hear someone say that it's not for me. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
What makes you thriving? Like, what's going on?
I mean, like, lock me up in my house in the middle of nowhere and I don't really have to socialize and I get to like focus on my work. That's the dream. And
Okay.
Where are you?
Currently I'm in the city, but I've been up in my house like an hour and a half north of New York, east of Poughkeepsie.
Oh, New York City. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
We're
you're
here
in our
too.
hood.
Oh, nice.
You might actually be in our hood.
I'm
So-
currently in FIDI right now, so.
Oh, my
You're in my
God.
work's hood, so yes.
We should have just done this in person then.
Right.
Yeah.
We should have, yeah.
We do have our COVID.
We have our COVID
Our
officer.
COVID compliance officer.
I love
do.
it.
Make sure we're all healthy and shit.
Yeah, I've been on a few sets recently. The first set that I went on a couple weeks ago, I'm not gonna say what it was, but it was the first set I've been on, and within an hour, the showrunner comes into my dressing room and is like, "Someone tested positive. We're shutting down." I was
Oh,
like, okay,
no.
so this is the new normal. This is what I
Yeah.
gotta do.
It show is.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's almost as crazy. Oh, I mean, it's a little hot topic. I don't know if we want to jump into that right now.
Let's do it.
Okay,
Do
yeah,
it.
no, I just saw an article by Michael Musto about season 13 Drag Race filming. One girl got there, and then they found out some drama.
Have you heard about this, Nico?
Right.
No, I haven't.
So,
I knew that they were
Yeah,
filming,
so
though.
here's the tea. Apparently, this girl, we don't know who, in her act, she goes to patrons' phones and like goes through their photos, finds nudes, and then like airdrops them out to the bar. Yeah. So producers were like, no. Sent her home like a day before they were supposed to start airing.
The drama on Drag Race. I love how there's
Oh,
I
like,
mean,
drama.
honestly.
but
it's
they're
got-
like calling out the girls now. These girls have been out here doing this for years, but now all
For
of a sudden
years, yeah.
they're making it public information. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's
Listen.
interesting to bring up, Nico. We talked to our last guest about this as well. How do you feel about cancel culture? Like a lot of people nowadays, they're bringing up old tweets. They're looking at old Facebook, MySpace, Zynga, whatever you had back in the day.
Not
pictures.
Zynga.
I mean, some people
I did
are.
think
And they're using that. And you know, I feel like
I need
it's,
to express my thoughts.
yes. But I feel like
Yeah.
it's actually hitting the entertainment industry, especially pretty hard. You know, we had an actor in, was it Arrow, Ashley, or which one was it?
The Flash.
The Flash, who lost his
Mhm.
job for,
Yeah.
you know, tweeting in the past. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about cancel culture and what it's doing?
I understand this is a very sensitive time, right? And as it should be, this world is set up in a certain way to keep everyone down, and it hurts everyone. The oppressed and the oppressor. It winds up hurting the oppressor as well.
Mhm.
And hate is something that is taught, right? No one is born with inherent hate. It is passed down. But so is consciousness, and so is redemption, and so is forgiveness. Those things have to be taught. And if we don't allow everybody that chance, obviously to varying degrees, it's all very relative. But for me, so much of this work as an artist, as someone that works in the queer space, as a voice, as, you know, whatever it is I'm doing, it always comes back to spirituality. That is the root of everything that I do. And forgiveness for me is like the ultimate redemption, right? If you have the power to forgive the ones that hurt you the most, and I'm not saying it's easy. Obviously, it's easier said than done. But to get to that point, I mean, there is no higher level consciousness for me. Yeah. That's kind of the top of that mountain. So I understand cancel culture. I can't really get behind it long term.
Yeah.
Sure.
I hear that.
I agree with that.
I absolutely agree with that.
So Nico, in 2018, you did something publicly that was pretty extraordinary.
So, what I do?
I don't know if you remember, but you came out as gender fluid. So what we like to do here on Pride the Podcast is educate our listeners if they don't happen to understand normal vernacular or ways of conversation that happens in our community. So for our listeners out there, can you explain in your point of view what gender fluid means, sexually fluid means, and what it meant for you when you came out as such?
Right. I think just in basic terms, fluidity is the opposite of fixed, right? It's not one thing for the rest of my life. It ebbs and it flows. And I think the term gender fluidity, in terms of my own usage, came out when I was doing that video with Trinity. We did that drag makeover. We were having a conversation about gender fluidity, and then the next day it was like, Nico Tortorella comes out as gender fluid. Like, I understand labels. I understand how important they are, especially as youngins exploring the community and exploring yourself. But the more work that I actually do on myself and understanding the spectrum of gender and just the spectrum of the human condition, the less weighted I feel specific words are for myself. I really like the term non-binary because I think it actually has the power to not define myself. It is focusing on what I not am rather than necessarily what I am, or really what I don't believe in. Like, I don't, I believe in opposite ends of spectrums. I understand that they exist. I just don't think they serve me, and I don't really think they serve the collective. Like,
I feel that
we are constantly being divided everywhere we go, obviously in the world and within the community. Like, it's so fucking insular. Like, we are taught at certain sects along the way that, like, oh, they're on that side of the fucking table and we're on this side of the table. And the point of what I'm getting to is, the more that I understand gender, the less I feel sexuality has legs to stand on. And I know that that is a fucking complicated thing to say. But if gender isn't what we were taught it is or was, then sexuality becomes something different, right? If a man isn't a man, the idea of a man, and a woman is a woman, like, would our desires change if we weren't taught the things that we were? And that's like this queer spiral that I constantly live in.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that I think that makes complete sense. And you mentioned that there is divisiveness, obviously, in the world, but also in our community. There's also divisiveness in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry. So when you came out, as the media like to say as gender fluid, how did that affect your career as an artist, or did it at all?
Yeah, I mean, because I was having the conversation around sexuality years prior, I didn't feel like it was that much more advanced of a topic. My team definitely disagreed with me, and there were hours of conversations, days, weeks of what does this mean? And still to this day, I have to explain a lot of shit to people, right? Like, can casting directors, can executives, can, you know, studio heads across the board still see me as a straight cis person, right? That's like basically the question. I'm like, girl, that's who I played on television for the last 10 years. Like, that work doesn't go away because of the conversation that I'm having. Let us not forget, it is our job to transition as actors into other people. Like, I understand that obviously queer people should be playing queer characters right now, because so much is at stake at an administrative level, at a legislation level, like a 1,000,000%. But do I think that queer actors should be the only ones that play queer characters forever and always? I don't know.
It's called acting.
Yeah.
It's called
I get
acting.
that.
Yeah.
We've been doing it forever.
Yeah, it sounds more like you had doors open for you, I feel like. After you came out, it was like, oh, now I have more doors to explore, more windows. Let's see what's going on.
Right.
So I'm not stuck in this box.
It was less of a coming out and more of a coming into myself.
Right.
And as an actor, I always realized that I would be able to play more characters and explore more parts of the characters that I play if I explore myself in its entirety. And that's still something that I am constantly doing. That work never ends. You know?
Amen. That's beautiful. So why wouldn't you want to express that and share that?
Yeah.
And if anyone has a fucking problem with it at a studio level or, you know, at a network, like, fuck, I don't need to work on that job anyway.
I know that's
just cancel culture that. Okay.
And create your own content. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have a seat at the fucking table. You go out and you buy a chair.
You see this big ass table we got?
I was like, here we go. As we live and see.
Thank you for having me.
So Nico, you talked about roles that you played, and the other day one of my favorite roles that you have played is, you know, who invited you, Trevor? Because Scream 4 was one of my favorites. I loved you in that movie, and now we have to get into that. Since it's spooky season. What was your favorite part of filming Scream 4, and what was your favorite memory from that?
I don't know. Before you answer that, I don't know if you know how big of fans we are of not only Scream 4, but the entire Scream franchise.
Yeah.
So
you're part of history.
Yeah,
we can quote that movie down.
Yeah, we're horror buffs, and I love it.
Inside information, the costume that I was wearing when I got shot
was Sidney Bad's costume.
Is currently up for sale on the internet, head to toe. And whoever found it found a handwritten letter that I had written to Wes Craven in the pocket that is drenched with blood. So
what did the letter say?
Wow.
Oh my God.
Thanking him for this opportunity.
Found that right away.
I will send it to y'all after this, just in case you want to continue the research on.
That's amazing.
I've already made a note.
Wow.
I'm using this as a microphone. My greatest experience.
I love it.
No, it was already such an established universe and an established team. It was like David and Nev and Courtney were coming back to this summer camp of sorts, and they really just welcomed us newbies, right? Like, it was the first time they had a brand new generation coming and joining the franchise, right? Usually it was people their own age coming and like playing around with them. So they really welcomed us with open arm. My favorite like moment of shooting, so it's a tradition whenever you're casting Scream, at some point in your shooting process, Ghostface is gonna scare the shit out of you in the middle of a take.
No.
And they like kind of preface it at some point, but then like everyone stopped talking about it. And it was like 3:00 in the morning. It was we didn't invite you, Trevor scene. So we are in Kirby's house. And it's late. Rory's like ripping fucking Red Bulls. He had like 6 Red Bulls deep, 3:00 in the morning. I'm like outside smoking some menthol cigarette.
Right.
Cloves.
And I go to open the door and the cameras are on and Ghostface pops out in the middle of the door and screams as loud as he can. Okay. And now I know the stunt guy that's playing Ghostface, like, my initial reaction is not to jump and be terrified, but it's to punch the motherfucker in the face.
Oh no.
Hey man.
Listen.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Fight or flight, you fight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So were the medics called and like filming was delayed because you injured the main fucking character?
I killed Ghostface. That's one
Gail
punch.
over here.
That's all it took.
That's amazing.
I love that.
That leads me to my next question. So you've seen like all the hype over Scream 5 coming out.
Yeah.
If you have to choose like a main person like Gail, Dewey, or Sydney to die in this one, like who would you want it to be and why? Because one has to go.
Or do they?
I think they will, to be honest with you.
I don't think so either.
I really don't.
But I'm like,
why would they? They've gotten this far without any of them dying. Like,
Yeah.
I guess I kind of wish.
I think Gail and Dewey are probably gonna have some kids somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And
Do you know any inside tea, by the way? Or
Right.
is this just speculation?
full speculation.
Okay.
Um,
Because we're about to break headlines tomorrow morning.
Right.
Yeah, we were about to be like, and
well, David's talked about it a little bit. Like, obviously hasn't dropped. Who was I just? Oh, he was on Tamron when he was growing out the mustache, and he was talking.
Yeah.
Dude, that was such a wild time in my life. I mean, we were all young and partying so fucking hard. And that was right when David and Courtney were getting a divorce, and there was all of that. And it was fun. It feels like a lifetime ago, that movie.
yeah.
Mhm.
And how was it working with Hayden Panettiere? Like,
We love her.
we love her.
I hate that Kirby died.
We don't know if Kirby
We
died.
don't know.
Because actually Wes Craven.
She could be alive, I'm hoping.
Wes Craven did say, "May he rest in peace." That we didn't see her death.
That's true. It's true.
Hayden has the same birthday as my mom, and
Aww.
we became very, very close very quick and spent a lot of time together after the show. There's just such a fire in her and like me, and both of us came together, and it was just like double Leo, double fire, like explosive energy. I wish her the best in the whole world. You know, she's kind of been through it, and
Yes,
I
yes.
forgot her often, you know.
Aw.
Well, we're always Team Kirby over here.
Yes.
Team Kirby, Team Hayden.
Team Hayden.
And Hayden has had one of the most fantastic careers in Hollywood. She seems like an amazing person. So, you know, sending all our love to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your fairy? Well, hello.
My
What's your
fairy?
What's
Okay.
it is?
Yeah.
What's your favorite scary movie, by the way?
What's your favorite scary movie?
What's your favorite scary movie? My favorite scary movie, y'all. I mean, it's not my favorite scary movie. I don't really know how to answer that question, to be honest with you, because it's not like
Well,
necessarily.
don't yell at me.
I'm not yelling. I'm just getting a little worked up because the genre just in general kind of works me up. I mean, when I saw the first Saw in theaters, it just like changed the game, right? It was like, oh, this is what we're doing now. Like, this is where we're going.
Right.
And then what was the other fucking movie that came out right after Saw that was equally as like hardcore gore porn?
Was it
Gore
Hostel?
porn?
Hostel.
Those
Okay.
are kind of two of my favorites.
Really?
Adam
Really?
loves the.
I love Saw, the
Wait.
original.
See, I can't get into torture movies as much.
Is gore porn a thing, or did you just make that up, or is it?
That's a thing.
Google it.
It really is a thing.
Ew.
Okay, maybe I will later.
We definitely will be Googling.
No.
Later tonight.
No, I'm sorry. I hate gore and porn. So like,
And porn.
I mean,
I smell a lie.
He's lying.
no. This is going out to the public. I
Uh-huh.
always tell the truth.
Uh-huh.
I love a psychological thriller. you
Me too.
know?
Me
Those are my
too.
favorites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like with the one.
Identity is one of my
Identity is one of my
favorite
favorites.
movies. I love Identity. I love at the end when you think it's going one way and it goes completely opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Speaking of opposites, like one of my favorite scary movies is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh my gosh.
Horror movie.
And
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see you on Celebrity Drag Race.
It was
How
so much
that?
fun
Yes.
to watch you.
What was the question?
Give us all the tea. How was
it?
it?
Yo, we don't have time for all that.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
Oh,
do.
we do.
We will make
Oh.
time.
We've
We will
actually
do
cleared
part
the
1 and
schedule.
part 2.
Y'all, I just want to preface with it was an incredible opportunity. It was a dream fucking come true. I've been part of that family for a little bit. You know, I guest judged a few years prior. Randy and Fenty Randy and Fenton, who are kind of like the big daddies at World of Wonder. They directed my Menendez brothers movie I did with Courtney Love on Lifetime.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
So I've like, Michelle and I have been close for years. It's just like, I've been in that circle, right? So when this opportunity comes to me, it was like a no fucking brainer. Yes, of course. I get to actually compete on Drag Race. Yes, duh. I had no idea who I was competing against. The only thing I knew was that I was going to be doing Snatch Game, and I flew to LA, and I was prepped. You know, I was prepared to get the job done. Long story short, we're going to make a really long story a little bit shorter.
Okay.
I still want deets.
Yeah.
I was planning. Obviously, I had an agenda when I went onto Drag Race. You know,
Okay.
I had a lot of queer and trans friends that were inspiring the conversation that I was going in there with, right? The conversation that we're all well aware of. And I was planning on walking into the workroom. I had a leather corset. I had an 8-inch platform with like a fucking jacket on top of it. And producer sat me down and they were like, hey, we want this like boy to girl story. And I was like, but I'm not a boy. Like,
yeah.
And from that point, that was like the first hour that I was there. And from that point on, I was just kind of let down. I felt like defeated from the top. And who I was competing against, like such lovely, lovely people. But like ultimately it left little room for the conversation that I was most excited to have. Like, why not? There were other queer people on the other 3 episodes. Why not just like have us all together in one episode so we could actually talk about representation in Hollywood all together at the same time, right? I just felt like ultimately my narrative was muted, potentially unintentionally, when we all agreed that there could be more conversation that's had on the show. Drag Race is the queer mecca of mainstream media. And I guess I was just under the impression that like maybe they were a little bit further along in these conversations.
Sure.
But gendered across the board the whole time that I was there. I'm like, I get it. Fucking language is hard, but we have a responsibility. And I hope to see things continue to evolve over.
Do you regret it at all?
I regret listening to the producers. I wish I just went in and did my thing from the top and said, if you don't want me to do it, I'll leave. Like,
Facts.
But I
Gone
can't
in there with like a Willem attitude.
Well, say it again.
I was saying you should have gone in there like with a Willem mindset, attitude. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and you're just gonna deal with it.
But like, don't vomit though on camera. So do you think like the issues that you had personally with the show, did you voice them with producers? I'm sure you did. Do you? Right. So do you think that sets a precedence for the next chapter of newbies coming in?
Listen,
hopefully.
Should we wait for this siren for 1 second?
Wow. So they're in New York. Thank you, New York.
Someone outside is misbehaving.
It happens.
I don't know. I wasn't treated like a contestant on the show. I was treated like a celebrity. And I think that like as the show came out, there was a ton of conversation within the community, specifically from like binary white trans girls about how dare Nico Tortorella have this conversation in the space. Like Nico's taking this seat away from someone like me. I was a celebrity on the show. I wasn't actually competing on Drag Race. Like I did as much as I physically and emotionally was able to do, because if it wasn't me in that position, I promise you would have been just another cis boy having that fucking conversation about it.
Right.
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like you're giving more of a spotlight to the conversation.
Absolutely.
We all know that there's a certain level of gatekeeping that exists within the community, right? And
I'm sure.
Yes.
And who the fuck got the keys to the gate? Because I'm tired.
well, girl, if you don't even have a house, who are you screaming at?
Right. Ain't no key, ain't no gate. Don't nobody want us in there. I hate it so much. I hate it.
That's a fence. That is a fence.
For sure.
Okay, so let's move on from Drag Race because
Ashley's tired of the gay shit.
Never.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, but okay, so we've talked about Scream, we've talked about Drag Race. I want to talk about The Walking Dead. You are in the new show World Beyond. I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. Me and Darrell are.
Yeah.
We get Adam to watch.
I watch some.
We watch sometimes.
I'm just nervous to watch my life on TV.
You are The Walking Dead.
I literally am.
I think we all are right now.
I mean, at least this year we are.
At least you're prepared maybe to fight zombies and everything. So.
Right. You know? But okay, so what was that experience like? Were you a fan of the show before? Like, I'm so excited. Tell us everything.
I mean, first season of Walking Dead is one of the greatest seasons of television ever.
So good. I binge watched it like that.
I mean, I watched the first 5 pretty religiously. And it was like right at the time when streaming started happening after 5, and like there was just so much television everywhere. I kind of fell off after 5, and then I auditioned for Fear for Nick, didn't get it, didn't watch it in spite.
Good for you.
I feel that.
That's how I feel about Power, but
Okay. And then I had no idea this project was getting put together. I was in Indonesia. I get a phone call being like, hey, there's a new Walking Dead, starts in 2 weeks. They were originally thinking about going younger with this character. They want to talk to you. They want to get on a call. And I was like, okay, great. And the only thing I knew was that Felix was gay. And I jumped on the call, and we had a long conversation, hour and a half chat, just about like, I had questions, less about like, what is this story that we're telling? Like, who are these characters, you know? And more like, why do you think this is still important 10 years later? Like, what more do we have to explore? And I went in on the political and social landscape and like really just searching for what is the greater metaphor here? Like, what are y'all doing, right? And what's your intention here? And Scott Gimple, who's kind of like Big Daddy of Walking Dead, was like, Nico, in our universe, the only binary that exists is dead and alive. Everything else kind of disappears. And that was just like, oh, fuck, that's the world that I want to live in. And beyond that, like, what if we can take even that binary away, where the dead are just like always with us in our blood as our ancestors? I don't know, queer spiral, ding, 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 pull together. I was in Richmond shooting a week later, and I've wanted to play a fucking queer superhero my entire life. And this is a version of that. Felix is badass.
I can't wait.
Fucking just intense and a fighter and a survivor, and protects the people around him in ways that, you know, we don't always get to see queer people do on television, right?
Right.
And I'm really, really excited and proud. I've seen all 10 episodes. I just finished them ago. Y'all.
Oh, I cannot wait. Actually, I'm not going to be in front of the TV Sunday.
Yeah,
I might have to watch that.
I think I'm going to have to watch
it. You ain't got no choice living in this house.
Right.
Nico, you know, you didn't necessarily have to wait until then to play a gay superhero. You've been one all your life. You've been a queer superhero. You've inspired so many people. Everything that you've done since you have came out and you've talked about it, you've been a champion for the community.
Thank you for your voice.
So you've always been that hero. So some heroes don't wear capes, my dear.
Okay.
Unless you want to wear a cape.
Unless you want a cape, you put one on. I might got one in the closet. I don't know.
You know I got a few capes here.
You might have to let me borrow some. We'll switch some out. Nico, it's absolutely been a pleasure having you here with us at Pride the Podcast. We love you. Continue to do great work. We hope that as soon as this pandemic clears out, we can get together. We love a good brunch.
We'll come on downtown.
We'll come downtown, bring the COVID compliance officer, check our temps, and we'll do it.
Hey, thank y'all for keeping the hope alive when we need
Absolutely.
You got to during these crazy times.
Be safe.
Much
love.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Say hi to Bethany.
I will.